Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, it's interesting to hear our Democratic colleagues seeing boogeymen under every rock. And there is the frightful specter of the NRA on one side. There's the frightful specter of the Koch brothers on the other side. There are charts of dark money with red string and all sorts of perceived connections. There is a simpler explanation, which is that the American people actually value our right to keep and bear arms. You want to know who the members on this side are listening to? It's not some interest group. It's the hundreds of millions of Americans who want their constitutional rights protected, who want to be able to defend their families, and who don't want to see the government taking away their right to defend their home, their lives, and their family. That's something our Democratic friends don't seem to understand. This is not about a checkbook in Washington, D.C. This is about millions of constituents at home. I promise you, when John Cornyn and I go home, it's not the NRA we're worried about. It's Texans looking at us saying, don't you let them take our guns. And there are folks in every state here who feel that way. You know, it was striking during the campaign. In August 2019, Joe Biden was asked about people who think that a Biden administration, quote, means they're going to come for my guns. And Biden replies, bingo! You're right. If you have an assault weapon, the fact of the matter is they should be illegal, period. So we can thank President Biden for letting the cat out of the bag. He's made clear his agenda, and let's use the exact words, they're going to come for my guns, bingo. That's what Joe Biden promised America he wanted to do. And in this case with Mr. Chipman, this is the manifestation of the promise, we're going to come for your guns. Mr. Chipman is a gun control zealot. He spent the last 6 years of his life working for one of the leading gun control organizations. And he came before this committee, and his testimony was remarkable. He testified that he thought Senator Feinstein's legislation on assault weapons didn't go nearly far enough. Now, Senator Feinstein and I disagree on that legislation, disagree strongly. Her sentiments are heartfelt, they're genuine. But Mr. Chipman said Senator Feinstein didn't go nearly far enough. She sought to ban some 2,000 different models of rifle, but he said it didn't go nearly far enough because he'd go after every single weapon people own right now, that he wouldn't just focus on the new sales. He was interested in whatever guns you have at your home right now to defend your family. And to be clear, Senator Feinstein's legislation wasn't just filed, it wasn't just considered in this committee, it was voted on the Senate floor. In the year 2013, I just arrived at the Senate. I was a brand new freshman. Had been here about as long as Senator Padilla, Senator Ossoff. It was the Harry Reid Senate. So I was in the minority. There was a substantial majority of Democrats in the Senate. Senator Feinstein's bill to ban so-called assault weapons, voted on the Senate floor, received 60 no votes. In a Democratic Senate, among the senators voting no were Senator Bennett, Senator Heinrich, Senator Manchin, Senator Tester, Senator Udall, and Senator Warner, all Democrats, voted no. And Mr. Chipman says that that bill, that in a Harry Reid Democratic Senate could muster only 40 votes, it didn't go far enough. We need to be even more aggressive going after your guns. Now, I recognize in extreme left partisan environments, that sounds like a terrific idea. I recognize that there are Democrats who've run for office promising that we need judges and justices on the Supreme Court who will vote to overturn the Heller decision and to, in effect, repeal the individual right to keep and bear arms. But that's not the view of the American people. And it's not some mysterious lobby in town. It is hundreds of millions of Americans that value their freedom, their constitutional rights. And I got to tell you, this past year, there were a whole lot of Americans who hadn't actually thought a lot about the Second Amendment until suddenly we had riots in American cities all across the country. Till suddenly we had police cars being firebombed and shops being looted and people being murdered on the street in city after city after city, and we saw local Democratic politicians turn a blind eye to the violence. One Democratic politician described weeks and weeks of rioting and burning and violence, described it as, it's the summer of love. Well, I think actually elected officials have a responsibility to keep their citizens safe. I think writing off rioting and criminal violence as the summer of love is incredibly cynical and a dereliction of duty. But you know what? In a lot of those blue states, in a lot of those blue cities in blue states, there were a whole lot of folks that suddenly went to a gun store and said, you know what? If there's going to be a riot outside my house, I want to be able to defend myself if someone starts coming in the door or coming in the window seeking to do harm for my family. And by the way, when you have Democrats proposing abolishing the police, and not just proposing and implementing it in cities like Minneapolis and cities like Portland and cities like New York City and cities tragically like Austin, Texas, slashing the budgets for police and seeing crime skyrocket, and then scratching their heads going, gosh, why would crime skyrocket? We just slashed the budgets for the police. You can understand why people say, if you're going to take away the police officers, for God's sakes, don't take away my ability to defend my family. I think Mr. Chipman is a nominee who is far out of the mainstream. If his position is what he told this committee, that he thinks we should go much further than Senator Feinstein's legislation, which commanded only 40 votes in a Democratic majority Senate, that does not reflect where the American people are. And this nomination is a chance for Senate Democrats to decide. I assume, the membership of this committee, that every Democrat in this committee is going to vote for Mr. Chipman. This tends to be a committee on both sides of the aisle that attracts some of the members who are more comfortable with taking clear positions. But there are at least some Democrats in the conference who, when they go home to their home states, they tell their constituents they support the Second Amendment. Some ways I'm grateful to President Biden for making this nomination because it's a clarifying moment. Every one of those Democrats who goes home and tells their constituents, no, I believe in the Second Amendment. No, I don't believe in confiscation. No, I won't ban guns. No, we shouldn't do that. Well, we got a nominee who supports confiscation, who wants to ban guns, who wants a registry, and who was appointed to carry out Joe Biden's promise, bingo, we're coming after your guns. So now it's a chance for each of the 50 Democrats to decide, where do you stand?
Thank you, Senator Cruz. Senator Cotton has asked for recognition.
Yeah, I'll keep this